What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, Drinks After Work with Shelly Nicole. How's everybody doing? Oh, God. I'm freaking exhausted. I'm not gonna hold you. Today was a day. Today was a day. I am exhausted. My feet hurt. I went on freaking Champs, and I was like, all right, I gotta get new sneakers because my feet are killing me. I'm so tired. Like and I'm hot and I'm sweaty. Like not now anymore, but I was so hot and sweaty all day. Y'all don't even understand. I was ready to take this wig off in front of everybody at work because I was so hot. Like I was just so irritated. People could see it on my face. Anyway. Monday definitely Mondayed today, but still blessed because listen, there are people who did not wake up today. There are people who did not go to work today, who could not go to work today because they didn't have a job, and there are people who unfortunately had plans for today that just didn't make it. So nonetheless, although it was a hectic day, I am very blessed that I was able to have a day. The weekend was good. I went to a party on Saturday with my girl Erica. Hey E. It was fun. It's called Burgers and Bottles. It was my first time going. It was actually kind of cool. It was a lot of females, but she did say that the summer party, I guess they have two parties, so the summer one was better. Just more guys, a good, I guess, mix of guys and girls, but this one was the girls definitely showed out for this party. And on top of talking about parties, I mean, I really don't party contrary to what is that the word? Whatever. To what you guys may believe. I really don't party like that. So when I do party, it's very rare. It's like a here and there type of thing. But when I tell y'all how like annoyed I am with this generation, I can't. Like, I get it. It was no, I don't get it. Let me not even give them an excuse. When you're going to a party, and my millennials, we know this. Going to a party for us was always dressing up. Unless like the flyer or the party promoter or somebody told us like, nah, it's cool. Just wear some sneakers, dress it down, no problem. But for the most part, it was heels. We always wore heels, dresses. The men showed out. I mean, they had it wasn't, Pradas were out, but it was also the other sneakers. I forgot, designer sneakers that came out that everybody was wearing. But they put stuff on. They had a collared shirt on. The men were just, they were looking nice. It was the women and the men, we were all dancing. Everybody was having a good time. This generation, I tell you, everything, like, it's like, what's the point of a dress now? Like, what do y'all even know when to wear a dress? Like, do you own one? That's what I want to ask. Like, do you own any type of dress? Because it gives very much so, like, the parties that I've been to, all the girls just dress down. I really don't understand. Like, I don't even think I've been to a party where I've seen this generation dress up, honestly. But again, this is why I don't go to parties like that. I go to lounges, or I'll just do something completely different. Because I just don't have it. The music is just not. Although the music for Burgers and Bottles wasn't that bad though. But for a lot of the artists that are out now, I don't listen to that much of them. That many new artists. Like, I'm really on that Rod wave. His albums. I actually listened to his albums a few years ago, but I really have been rocking with him. He's very good. But yeah, a lot of these new artists, I can't be bothered. I don't even know what the hell they be saying half the time. This is what our parents felt with us, I guess. But this is just how I feel with some of them nowadays. But nonetheless, my weekend was good. Yesterday was just football Sunday, so, I was watching football. My Giants lost yet again. I didn't even stick around to see if the Chiefs won, but I don't even know. My ESPN didn't even go, or probably did go off, but I didn't see it. But anyway, the weekend was great. I hope you guys had a great weekend as well. So today's topic is really more on a reflecting and self-evaluating triggers and trauma. that is what today's episode is about. And really, I guess, to understand your own triggers and evaluating your own trauma. I feel like, especially for me during this season of singleness, and even a lot of my friends who are single, you get the best time to like really understand yourself when you clear your roster, like you don't talk to anyone, or you don't really have like intentions of dating anybody serious right now. You're just like, regular casual conversation with people, if that. And you really just give yourself time to process everything that you have been through within the last few years, or who you've dated, what you've allowed, what has occurred, and learning to really let go and get over it. I do believe heavily that when it comes to trauma, we all have trauma. So I don't ever want to hear no nonsense about people talking about, I don't have any trauma. No, you've just masked it. You found a way to keep it hidden. You found a way to never really focus on it by doing something else. Whether it can be anything, honestly. Like, people drink, people smoke. You heavy smokers out there. People go out to parties. And I'm talking about partying a lot, like almost every day, just going outside, needing to be around something to distract from thinking. It could literally be anything. Shopping, spending money constantly. That is also a trauma enforcer or reflector. I think it's a cover up almost. And we all go through it. Every last one of us have been through some type of traumatic experience, relationship-wise, family-wise, friend-wise, that has caused us to be a little hardened and a little your guard up for the most part for the next person or any other situation that comes your way. Nonetheless, I feel like in your time of being alone, and this is why it's so important to just embrace the loneliness, embrace the singleness, although it's annoying, but embrace it, because this is the time where you really get to understand not only yourself, but you get to understand what it is, what you've put up with that you should not have put up with. Because I guarantee you, I know I'm not the only one who can literally look back and like look at the last relationships, like just not even just relationship, but like even how you handled friendships, how you've handled your own family in certain situations that may have occurred, and you could just look at it like, why did I even do that? Like, granted, this irritated me so much, but why did I respond in the way that I responded? And have it like just everything just add up. And this is why I also say therapy is, everybody needs to go to a therapist. Like I said, I'm still looking for a good one to go to again, because I had one that was really good, but I miss her. But anyway, I really do feel like therapy is one of the answers. I feel like therapy is one. I put therapy at 2, but I would definitely say having a relationship with God has definitely helped too. That's number 1. Having a relationship with God and understanding where and what God is trying to do in your life when it comes to the things that have happened to you, instead of just asking like the question. I was reading this yesterday, and I think it was actually in Romans. So like Romans 8:28. I'm getting biblical. Bear with me. If you don't like it, you can skip it. But you shouldn't skip it. In Romans 8:28, right? Basically, it suggests that even in challenging or difficult circumstances, there's something to learn and something that God is trying to teach you in every situation that we go through. So even if it's family, like I said, if it's friends, if it's just romantic relationships, there's a lesson that we're having to learn. And that is, when we don't learn that lesson, it correlates to our trauma. If you get what I'm saying. And I've even done it myself, where I would ask God, like, okay, so why are we here again? Like, what are we doing? Like, I'm trying things differently. And so why are we here? And there's obviously a lesson that you're not learning. So God's going to constantly keep putting you through the same type of ring over and over and over and over and over again until you get it. Like, okay, this is what he's trying. Okay, I get it now. That's what you were telling me. And that's for everybody. Like, and again, it doesn't have to necessarily be romantic. It can be any situation that you keep going into, that you keep getting yourself into. I tell you something, like, I'm trying to warn you. I'm trying to tell you this is how you can get out of it. I want you to respond in this way instead of that way. And a lot of times, like I said, we ignore it. I've ignored it. And that has correlated into the trauma. That has correlated into the triggers. Things that trigger me now is because of how I responded to it when it had happened, and how I've learned to respond to it as it has constantly happened after, the first time. We can prevent all of that if we would just stop and just listen and just evaluate what it is that's going on and really be in tune with, like, okay, I get what is being said right now. I get what is happening. This has happened before. Different person, different scenario, different season, different year, different month. But I've been here before. I've seen things like this before, and I really don't want to deal with it. And trying to find a way to remove yourself before you get back into the action of how you reacted when it happened the first time. And that's part of your trauma. And I say this all the time too, but I'll say it again. I'm not a professional. I just go based off of my own experiences and what I've learned and what I've heard other friends, colleagues, coworkers have said to me, and some of the advice that I've given them that they've even said, okay, yeah, that definitely did work. Or I tried that, and you're absolutely right. And just hearing other people's stories and how they can and how they've learned to maneuver through trauma and through their triggers. Like, I know for me, for one of my triggers is, I guess it could be for anybody, but one of my triggers is ignoring me. That's a trigger for me. That's also a trauma for me. When you ignore me and you know that I'm calling you, you know that I'm texting you, you know that I am I'm trying to, like, get in contact with you in any type of way, shape or form. Even if I'm calling your name and I know you can hear me, like if we're in person, but you just choose not to respond, that's a trigger for me. It's like I get hot. Like, why isn't this person answering me, and what are they doing? Like, what? My head starts to think, and my head just starts to come up with all these different type of scenarios. And I know it is a bad trauma. I know it's a bad trigger. But because it has happened so many times where I even told myself, like, okay, it's nothing. It's not that big of a deal. They're probably doing X, Y, and Z. They're probably just busy right now. To find out, oh, they were busy, all right. Just not with me. But they were busy. Has become a trauma. My trauma response to it has become constantly calling, constantly texting. And I've learned to even, like, and I'm talking about, like, recently, having to tell myself, okay, wait, stop. Don't do that. Don't call a million times. Don't text a million times. Let whatever is supposed to come out from the dark will come to the light. And having to respond to it in a different way instead of screaming, yelling, getting agitated because I thought, this wasn't something you were doing, or I thought, you weren't ignoring me, or you weren't purposefully just not trying to talk to me. It takes a lot. It really does. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of, not even just self-reflecting, but it takes a lot of accountability too. And it takes a lot of processing as to why it even happened to begin with. And the crazy thing is, I had brought this up to my therapist before, the one I had before, and she had told me, and I didn't even know this, she was like how being ignored is just like getting hit. It sends off the same endorphin in your head that it would as if you were getting punched. So it's like getting physically abused when you're being ignored. So people who, like myself, who have to deal or have dealt with, because I ain't dealing with it no more, that's on period, who have been ignored, and that being, something, a trauma experience from their past, they have to learn. It's like she told me it was like a whole, not, and it's not that difficult the way I'm going to explain it, but she's like, it's a whole process of how you have to come down from that high of wanting to react on a bad note, like how you want to react versus how you should react when you're being ignored. So the first thing she said was that you have to acknowledge your feelings. And I guess this is just in any type of situation. So whatever your trauma may be, you have to acknowledge the feeling that this is what's making, this is what your body's responding to. So for me, it was the overthinking and the feeling of like, oh my God, what are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? So she was like, sit with it. You have to sit with your emotions and literally talk to yourself, as most of us do. We won't admit it, but most of us do. Sit there and talk to yourself and be like, all right, you know what? Calm down, Michelle. I know right now you're feeling a little stressed out. You're a little emotional because why is this person ignoring you? A lot of things are going through your head right now, but I need you to stop. Don't overthink. Just take it for what it is. Give it a while. Give it a few minutes. Give it a few hours and see if they respond back to you. And I'm not going to hold you. At first it worked for like 10 minutes. And then after that, I flipped shits and I was like ringing the phone down. I couldn't help it. But she's like, it's an ongoing process, especially if it keeps occurring, not even with just the same person, but with somebody different. And if it keeps happening, it's a constant process that you have to keep going over, and that you have to keep starting over, which isn't necessarily your fault. It can just be the people that you come in contact with that don't know how to communicate. And this is why I say the number one thing for every relationship has to be communication. Forget everything else. Forget money. Forget all this other extra nonsense. It has to be communication, because if you cannot speak, this isn't charades. Okay, we're not playing guess my feelings. It's not a board game. So I don't understand why you can't communicate what it is you're feeling at this exact moment, and how you need either your space or you need your time or whatever the situation is. But basically, in those situations, in your trauma situation, for you to acknowledge first your emotions and then get back to what they could possibly be thinking of. And that was her second thing that she said, where she said, consider the situation. Try not to think negative. Try not to think that something bad is going on. Try not to think that, they're doing something to harm you. They're doing something to hurt you. And I know it's easier said than done. And this is something that men will probably never understand. Well, not probably, just won't understand, is women's intuition. And I remember somebody saying, well, if you have women's intuition and this can tell you all these things, why can't you tell when your man is not feeling okay? And I said, my response to that was, the intuition was to protect me. It has nothing to do with you. It's to protect myself from what someone else is doing to me. Men don't understand that. And I know you men, I know the men that are listening to this now, you're still not going to understand it. But that is the whole of a woman's intuition. It is like a little, I don't want to say, it's kind of like a ghost behind you, like an angel behind you that can literally see things. Like, you remember that movie, That's So Raven? Not the movie, the TV show, That's So Raven, where she could just like stare into space and then she look into the future. It's kind of like that, where it's telling you, like, you don't know exactly what is the actual situation is gonna, what the actual situation is going to be. Speak, Michelle, Jesus. But you know that it's something. and even when you come around this person or you're in the vicinity of this person, it's that feeling that we get in the pit of our stomach. And it's instant too. Like, it doesn't even take that long. It is an instant feeling that is like, okay, something's not right. Something's off. But she said, try to consider the situation first. Don't think too negative. Especially for women, like I said, like myself, who have been a lot of the times all the time really, when my intuition would go off, it was always something negative. So me trying to fight against it, it's very hard to do. But you don't want to automatically think negative because you're just so used to negative, because sometimes that may not even be the situation. It's just what you're used to, trauma, the trigger being ignored. So she's like, that's something that you have to do. Consider the situation first. And before we even go any further than that, gentlemen, please don't with the whole, oh, see, yeah, that's what we be trying to be telling y'all. Y'all like to jump to conclusions about things, because if we're being honest here, sometimes, maybe 70% of the time, you're doing exactly what we know that you're doing, that you're just not going to admit to. There could be other times where you're really not doing anything, but there's that good 70% chance that you're doing something that you know you're not supposed to be doing, and we're just bringing it to the forefront, and you don't like it. So what? The other thing that she did say was, like I said, communication. You have to be able to speak. There is no reason why you can't say what's going on with you. There is no reason why you cannot articulate what the problem is that you may be dealing with. Listen, life is lifing. 2024 has been a year, and I know 2025 is probably about to put us on our head top, because I just can only imagine what what 2025 could possibly bring. But I'm hoping for good things, obviously, but nonetheless, everyone is going through something. Everybody's dealing with something. And whether you're family, whether it's your friends, whether it's a romantic relationship, you have to be able to communicate what the problem is. Like, I can't get over my trauma if I keep going into relationships or friendships, and I can't have a good conversation, a good space to communicate, knowing that you as my friend, or you as my partner, or you as my family member just can't keep it all the way 100 beans with me. Like, I need you to do that. I need you to tell me that exactly what you're feeling and exactly what's going on. That way, when I have that feeling of that trigger of being ignored or something's going on, and it is not to say that it happens with every situation, so let's not get out of control here, but there may be times where it may be triggered as to like what's going on, as to why you're not responding to me. And again, that's just mine, but whatever yours may be, you acknowledge that. But to have clear and concise communication, you have to talk. It's like, just like when you go to work, you have to call your job to let them know you're not coming in, correct? Because if you don't, they'll AWOL your ass, and now you have your no call, no show. Now your boss is going to be up your ass, and now you're going to have problems when you come back to work. So just like how you have to communicate that you're not coming into work, just like how you have to communicate that you need X, Y, and Z to get your job done, it's the same thing when it comes to any other relationship. Communicate what it is that you're dealing with. Hey, I don't, romantic wise. Hey, babe, listen, I'm just not in the mood right now. It's nothing against you. I just had a very long day. I'm stressed out, X, Y, Z. I'll call you a little bit later. I'm just going to take a nap. I just need a few moments to myself. I'll hit you up later on tonight. It's that simple. It really is that simple. I love you, care about you, blah, 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 whatever. Whatever you have to do to butter it up, cool, do that and mean it. But just be able to articulate what the problem is, and not just go off the fact that he knows. Oh, she knows. She knows what I'm doing. She knows how I'm feeling right now. No, we don't. And it's not charades. I don't have a magic crystal ball that understands or can go into your mind and find out what's going on with you. I don't know. And it's kind of selfish too. when you really think about it, to think that your partner is supposed to know how you're feeling 24/7. We don't know how you're feeling 24/7. No one knows how you're feeling 24/7. You have to speak. If you're fine, you're fine. But if I can see it on your face that there's something going on, I can tell by your actions that there's something off. I'm going to ask you, and you should be able to tell me, be comfortable enough to tell me what the issue is. If it's a friend, if the friend is doing something that you see that your friend is off, or you see that, there's something going on. Hey, what's going on with you? Why are you acting like that? Like, you've been a little off lately. What's up with you? You should be able to tell when your friend is not being themselves, or you haven't heard from them in a while. What's going on? How are you feeling? How's life? Checking in. There's nothing wrong with checking in. There's nothing wrong with, sending a quick text message or a voice note if you can't, FaceTime, or you can't go on a phone call. Just check in. You need to do that. You need to have that type of relationship. And even with your family, something's bothering you that your family member did. Hey, let's have a conversation. We need to talk, because lately this has been bothering me. And I've even said this to myself. I mean, me and my own family, every family has their own drama, but me and my own family, just being able to be more open in how we feel when things are not going the way that we need it to go, or we thought it would go. And not just dusting it underneath the rug, or you may have a problem with me, but you're calling this one and that one to speak about it and not addressing me. But I can feel the tension whenever I'm around you. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just unnecessary, and a lot of things could be resolved. And a lot of issues can just be, oh, that's how you were feeling? I didn't know that, but this is how I was feeling. And a lot of miscommunication can happen too. Like, oh, I didn't know that's how you were. Oh, you were really feeling that way? Oh, see, and I was feeling this way because of how you were acting towards me. The whole time the both of you are acting stupid, and there's no reason for it to even happen just because you didn't communicate. The other ones that she also mentioned was to seek your support, and also just spend some time focusing on yourself. And I guess seeking the support was more of like a go to your friends, go to your family, people that you can rely on, and focusing on yourself was, something that you like to do, whatever it is, like, focusing on your health, going to the gym after work, or just giving yourself some alone time, putting your phone, like I've always said, put your phone on D&D, turn your notifications off. I've told you plenty of times, my notifications are off on my phone. I don't want to see who liked my picture on Instagram, who's sending me a DM. If I go on Instagram and I see it 2 days later, oh, well, sorry, my notifications aren't on. Same with TikTok, same with Twitter, same with Threads, same with all of that. Like, my notifications are not on. Putting your phone on D&D when you need time to yourself, when you just don't want to talk to anybody. Figuring out what you want to do, what you like, and getting back into that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with figuring out what makes you happy, but also what really just, brings you peace and calms you down. Because you also need that too. You also need to know, like, outside of the toxic, and hopefully it's not the toxic things. Hopefully getting away from all the toxic ways of, distracting yourself, finding more healthier ways of doing that. Listening to music, going for a walk, zenning yourself, meditating, something other than doing things that, can harm you in the long run. But nonetheless, I feel like we all have, like I said, we all have trauma, and there are triggers in our life that we have control of. There are certain things that we don't have control of, but I feel like majority of it we do, that can either keep our minds away from what has happened in the past, removing ourselves from situations and people. People too. It ain't just situations. It's people who can trigger that and can be a problem for you in the long run as you're trying to get out of, this habit of thinking this way, or, assuming that this is going to happen. It's a lot of work, but it's work that definitely I feel like so many people would benefit from when it comes to any other relationship that they have in the future, if they would just look at their past for a little bit. And I know looking at the past is scary. Having to acknowledge your past is scary, but you're going to keep going into the same cycle if you don't. You're going to keep running into the same type of people if you don't. And again, if you're single and you're by yourself, it's okay. Take this time to do that. Take this time to just write. Even you could write it down. Like, I like writing stuff down to like see things in a bigger, broader perspective. Write it down and look at all the things that have possibly happened to you that you could be like, okay, this is why I feel this way. This is why I move the way I move now, because this happened to me. And that was something, I don't know if I spoke about it, but that was something that my therapist actually did in a session with me. Like, we were just talking about something random, literally something random. And then she was like, so tell me about your childhood. And I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean talking about my childhood? What that got anything to do with what I'm talking about now, miss? She's like, oh, it does. It has a lot to do about your childhood. And as we went from, as far back as I could remember, and we just kept going further up until my 30s, it was like it all made sense. Everything started to add up. And a lot of the things of how we act and what we do is because of our past, because of our childhood, because of what we've seen, because of who raised us, because of what they were raised on. And that's why we do the things that we do. And if you want to break out of it, you have to acknowledge it first. You have to, be aware of what it is and remove yourself from it or find ways to change it. And it doesn't always have to be expensive either. I know people be like, well, not everybody can move away. Not everybody can do this. I didn't ask you to move to the other side of the country. I'm not asking you to move out of the state if that's the case, if you can't. If that's, if that's the, not the drastic, but that's the measure that you want to take. But there are different ways for you to do it. It's not just one particular way. But I thank you guys for listening. I will be on live Wednesday at 6 o'clock. I did it at 5 last Friday just to see what would happen. But I think I'm going to just do it back to 6 because I think 5 o'clock is still a little too early. So I'm going to be on live on Wednesday on my personal Instagram. Make sure you guys follow the podcast Instagram, drinksafterwork_podcast. And make sure you follow my personal Instagram, Sincerely Shelly, CHLLY, _, I believe. Yeah, _. And make sure you like, comment, and share the episodes. Want to get it out there. Want to get as many people to comment, put their own stories, speak your mind. Listen, I don't judge anybody for what they got going on. What's what. If you want to remain anonymous when you write in the comments, just tell me that. Listen, I'm gonna write something, but just X my name out. No problem. I'll do that. But just to see that other people have other things going on, because listen, this world, you already know what's coming on. Like, we even just got a few weeks before we even got a vote. That alone is making my head hurt. But everybody's going through something. Y'all are kind to everybody. Make sure that you guys are giving everybody the respect that they need when it comes to, their process and their healing. I love you guys for listening again a ton of times. Make sure you guys leave whatever happening today. I'm taking my own advice. Leaving whatever happening today. Leave it in today. Don't bring that shit into tomorrow. Thank you guys.